Dear students of SEM 3 BCom and SEM 3 of BBA, in the last two lectures, we discussed at length about the barriers to communication. In that unit, we discussed the physical barrier and the semantic barriers to effective communication. Today, we are going to learn about the socio-psychological barriers to communication. As you know, we live in a society. So we can say that man is a social human being. So when we say that man is a social animal, he has his own likes and dislikes, he has his own circumstances, he has his own attitudes and opinions. So all these affect favorably or unfavorably his communication. So today we are going to learn about the socio-psychological barriers to communication. In that, the first point is attitudes and opinions. So as a human being, we have positive attitudes and negative attitudes. We have favorable opinions and unfavorable opinions about certain persons. For example, if we have a friend and if we have a very positive attitude towards him, when he sends us a message or when he tries to communicate, we communicate favorably because there is nothing wrong with the message, but our attitude, which is positive, allows us to respond to that message favorably. Same is the case with an opinion. You have an unfavorable opinion about a person, and if that person communicates with you, that person comes with a positive idea to share with you, you would not like to listen to that person because you have a negative opinion about that person. So in short, we can say that our attitudes and opinions for a person deeply affect our act of communication. If our attitude towards that person is positive and if our opinion is favorable, the act of communication is successful. But if we have negative attitude and if we have unfavorable opinion about that person, we do not communicate favorably. Second is emotions. We all know human beings are emotional creatures, and emotions depend on situation, circumstances, many things. Sometimes when we are in a happy mood, we are ready to communicate with another person. For example, when we are waiting for our annual examination result, we are in a state of anxiety. And in that case, if somebody tries to communicate with us, we do not communicate properly because we are in a state of anxiety and stress. Same is the case with the emotion of anger. Sometimes unfavorable things happen in our life and we are angry. And when somebody tries at that time, we cannot communicate properly because our anger is so powerful, we do not allow other person to communicate. But when we are free from anger, we realize that it was our mistake, but then it is too late. So we can say our emotions play an important role in an act of communication. If we are cool, calm, we have with positive emotions, we communicate freely. But when we are in a state of anger, frustration, negativity, we do not communicate. So we can say our emotions controls our act of communication. Third is closed mind. What we mean by closed mind? Closed mind means a mind with strong likes and dislikes, a mind with strong prejudices. Now, physically we may be present, but mentally we would not like to allow a person to communicate with us if we have a closed mind. And we must remember that closed mind is also associated with your attitudes and opinion. Suppose a person tries to communicate with you, but you have a very strong prejudice against him, and you think that this man, what he is speaking is one thing, and what he means is a different thing. So you close your mind. You just not, the man may speak a lot, but you close your mind. That means mentally you are not prepared to listen to that person orally, or even if you receive a letter or a written message from me, you do not react favorably. Though that doesn't depend on the person, that doesn't depend on the message, but it all depends on your closed mind. You have a very strong prejudice against that person, so you do not communicate properly. So closed mind is also one of the barriers to effective communication. Then comes status consciousness. Now, when we talk about status consciousness, it is a very complex thing, because status is at various levels we will find in our modern society. Status in terms of money, status in terms of education, status in terms of a position in a hierarchy, status in terms of knowledge, status also in terms of caste, creed and religion. Because India is a society, a multilingual society. So there are number of status associated with it. So status consciousness also is one of the barriers to communication. For example, when we talk about an organization, there is a peon and there is a manager. Now a peon wants to communicate freely with his manager, but manager would not encourage such communication because he is conscious of his high status in the organization. So he would not like to receive the message or the oral communication carried by the peon in a favorable way. His status in the organization becomes a powerful barrier which which obstructs the smooth process of communication. Same is the case with rich and poor. If a millionaire is there, he would not allow the people or less privileged person to communicate with him freely, because he is always conscious of his high status in the society. And we must know that communication only takes place and it is only effective when both the parties are interested in communicating and both parties have good rapport with each other. So status consciousness is also one of the barriers in an act of communication. Then comes the source of communication, or we can say the source of information. That is also directly connected with attitudes and opinion. Who conveys the message is very important in an act of communication. A person who is in state of power, who enjoys a high position in society, and if he communicates, everybody takes the message in a serious way. Everybody accepts, because they know the source of communication is dependable, is trustworthy. So you listen to this message and you react favorably. But suppose the source of communication is from a person for whom you have a very strong prejudice, you have a very negative opinion. So even if that person tries to share some important information with you, you discourage that communication because you know the source of communication is not valid. The source of communication is not proper. You have a very strong dislike or aversion for that person, and naturally this source of communication also affects your communication, and it is a major barrier to communication. Then comes inattentiveness. This is also one of the barriers to communication. You have to be attentive when you deliver the message, when you receive the message, when you interpret the message, or when you understand the message. And inattentiveness affects your communication very badly. For example, somebody is speaking some important point and you are not attentive, then it is not possible for you to receive that message in toto. You will receive incomplete information, and incomplete information will lead to miscommunication. So paying full attention in an act of communication is very important, because without being attentive you cannot receive the message properly. And that is why when we talk about communication, we play much stress or emphasis on listening. You have to be a good listener. If you don't listen to the message properly, you are going to miss the message and it would lead to miscommunication. So attentiveness is one of the important factors for effective communication, and if you are inattentive, then you are not going to receive the message properly. And inattentiveness depends on so many things. For example, your physical or mental condition is not fit on that particular day. For example, you have come to your office, but your small child is admitted to the hospital. So naturally, your attention is with the child. So even if some important message is conveyed to you, you are not in a position to receive that message favorably. And inattentiveness is because of your child's illness in the hospital. So inattentiveness is also an important factor, and it affects communication, and it is a barrier to communication. Then faulty transmission. As we know, communication means passing of message from one person to another. It is the passing of meaning from one person to another person. Now you know, if that whole process of transmission, if the whole process of transmission of message is faulty, you cannot receive the message properly. And when you cannot receive the message properly, naturally it results in misunderstanding, because very transmission of message is very faulty. So it is a barrier to communication. Then comes poor retention. Retention is based on memory, especially in oral communication. For example, there is a Punjabi recipe and how to prepare it, and somebody teaches you how to prepare that recipe at home. He speaks 7 to 8 sentences, and if the speed is very high, you remember only 2 or 3 sentences. So especially in oral message, your memory plays an important part. You have to remember the link between one sentence and the other. Otherwise, what will happen? You will understand sentence number 1, you will leave sentence number 2 and 3. Sentence number 4 will be understood by you. So there is a constant gap. And when there are constant gaps in oral communication because of your poor memory, or if you cannot recall it properly, naturally it will become a barrier to communication. So in order to make your communication powerful or effective, proper retention is necessary. Poor retention leads to miscommunication. And last is unsolicited communication. Unsolicited communication means unwanted communication, or in the simplest language you may call as a pesky communication. Because if somebody tries to communicate with you and there is no willingness on your part, somebody wants to talk to you about his promotion, but you are not interested in his promotion. Somebody talks, for example, a salesperson comes to your house and he makes a very long speech regarding a particular product or service, and now you are not interested in that product or service. So when that salesperson try to communicate, you do not pay attention because the communication is unsolicited. The communication is uninvited. And when uninvited communication is imposed on you, you try to escape from it and you do not communicate properly. On the contrary, if communication is solicited, that means you are willing to communicate, and if that communication is carried out, you allow that communication to take place, you encourage that communication. So naturally, unsolicited communication is a major barrier to communication. So it was a very small unit. Now let us summarize what we have learned in this unit. Socio-psychological barriers affects communication. Socio-psychological barriers include attitude and opinions, emotions, status consciousness, source of information, inattentiveness, faulty transmission, poor retention, unsolicited communication. So with this we have completed unit number 3, that is barriers to communication. In the next lecture we will talk at length about new unit. Thank you very much.